A good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast, a good morning to those of you on the West Coast and Central Time Zones. Those following in Europe, those following from Israel, I want to wish you a good evening. And today we have an incredible human interest story. You know, one of the many, many faces that we've had the blessing and the honor to encounter in terms of the various faces of the IDF. Today we're going to meet Tom Reuveny. His story, in terms of his family background, in terms of what he has been for Israel, for the Jewish world, it's a fascinating story. What he's encountered, whether it's in Paris, Marseille, and parts all over the world, and what he's represented, all while his brothers at the same time were fighting in Gaza, were fighting in other parts. And we want to introduce him. He's going to share a little bit about himself, introduce himself, and then he's got a presentation that we'll have the chance to hear. And then hopefully, if there's some time afterwards, we'll ask him some questions. Tom, thank you for making the time. Tom, thank you for being with us. And we want to hand everything over to you.
First of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on this platform. I'm going to tell my story about myself as an Olympic windsurfer, coming from Israel, being at the Olympics during a war, and especially what it meant to be Israel's only gold medal. So I'm going to start my presentation, and let's start. Tonight I'm here not just as an athlete, but as someone who has embarked on a journey far beyond a gold medal. My story is about mental resilience, love for my country, and the support from the Jewish community that was there when I needed them. I started windsurfing when I was 8 years old. The beginnings were really, I lived in Ireland at the time, and it was way different back then. I did never think I would be an Olympic gold medalist. It's been an amazing journey that I've come through. And I remember as a kid watching my dad windsurf, and I got the love, and I just wanted to be a professional windsurfer. It wasn't so easy. It was a lot of tough times. I wasn't the most talented athlete. I wasn't anything special, but I had one thing, and that thing was perseverance and determination. I knew that if I keep working hard throughout the long term, I can achieve great things. And without talent, I can cover it up to work harder and harder and be the athlete I want to be. And from there, I started loving the sport and loving being an athlete. I knew that I could be really great, and the journey started in an amazing direction, to doing what I love every day and being passionate for the sport. As the time went on, I got further and further into the Olympic campaign, and I started campaigning for Tokyo 2020. I was still a very young athlete, and I wasn't the best in Israel, and unfortunately only one person from each country goes. So I ended up losing the Olympic ticket to Tokyo, which for me was a very, very dark time in my life. I was an athlete dreaming of getting to the highest peaks in athleticism, which is the Olympics, and unfortunately I couldn't make it. At the time we were sailing on a board called the RSX, which is, as you can see in the photo, it's on the water. And my physical attributes were not perfect for that board. So then, after losing the games for Tokyo, a new format came in, which was hydrofoil windsurfing. We're basically hovering above the water. It's this new thing into the sailing world, and it basically fitted my body perfectly. I knew that I could do well, and suddenly I became the best windsurfer in Israel, and the one who was really the person who was meant to be going to Paris 2024. I was really excited about this new thing, and it was really intriguing to start this new process of learning windsurfing kind of from the beginning, flying above the water, and it was basically my dream come true. I was being a professional windsurfer, being able to travel around the world and compete around the world, and it was a pretty amazing thing to do. And then the trials for the Olympics started. And soon after the trial started, October 7th happened. And on October 7th, everything kind of changed. I was training in the Eilat at the time with my girlfriend. We're getting ready for the last event of the trials. I was in the Eilat, woke up this morning to a normal day, not really expecting anything else. And then suddenly we start seeing everybody look at their phones in a cafe next to the training club. And we didn't understand what was happening. suddenly on WhatsApp, we started seeing videos of horrible things happening in the south of, in the border of Gaza. And you really don't understand. It's hard to explain into words what was really going through our bodies, but we started having tons of fear. We didn't know what was going on, and it was incredibly scary to be in Israel at that time. Even though I was in Eilat, which is quite far from Gaza, we didn't know what would happen with other bordering countries with Israel. Eilat is bordering Egypt and bordering Jordan, so we didn't know who else might join this. It was a scary time to be in Israel and a horrible time to be a Jewish around the world. My brother was serving in the army at the time. He's an elite soldier. On the day of October 7th, he went to the army and was in Gaza at 10 a.m., Gaza envelope at 10 a.m., and he started fighting against the terrorists that infiltrated the border. We didn't hear from him for 3 days. We didn't know what was going on. I had a few friends who were at the Nova Festival that were missing. After 3 days, we finally got the message that my brother was okay after so many people we heard that passed away and so many things were going on. It was a massive relief. And at the time, I wasn't even thinking about the Olympics. I was just thinking about the safety of my brother and safety of my friends who also went to fight. And it was just a horrible place to be. And everything kind of changed. I wasn't thinking too much about the Olympics. I didn't think about being an Olympic windsurfer. I just thought about the safety of my country and how things changed. And since October 7th, it was really hard to get back to training. I really didn't feel motivated. I was scared to go in the water sometimes. And everything felt such a big uncertainty. And I remember vividly this one meeting we had with the Olympic Committee, and they told us, you're not the ones that are going to go and fight. I wasn't a soldier. I wasn't a combat soldier. I was a soldier, but not a combat soldier. So I couldn't really go and fight. And they told us the best thing you can do as an athlete is in 8 months, go and win an Olympic medal. And from there, it kind of changed my whole perspective. I knew that the best way I can give back to my country, give back to my people, is by winning an Olympic medal. And I knew since then that I'm going to do everything I can, everything to win an Olympic medal. And that really changed. And every day I did the best I can to be the best. But it wasn't an easy journey. Just before the Olympic trials, the last selection process in Lanzarote, the World Championships were held. And my brother at the time was fighting in Gaza. We did not hear from him at all. Every day, my mom would send me a message about his commanders saying that they're all okay, and just praying every day that he was okay. It was a pretty hard place to be. I'm in my bubble abroad and he's fighting. And you're just hoping every day that he's fine. One of my worst memories from this time is 1 week before the Worlds. Me and my girlfriend were sitting down just before a training session, and she suddenly was reading the news. 12 soldiers were passed away in a building that collapsed. And we looked at the photos, and one of them was my neighbor, a friend who grew up with me since the age of 10, and he lives 2 houses away, and his death really felt close to home, especially with my brother fighting in Gaza, and realizing, knowing his family, knowing everyone around him, and thinking what they're going through. It was a really hard time, and honestly, I didn't really want to go and compete at the Worlds. So many emotions, so many hardships, so many people sacrificing their lives for their country, and I'm just windsurfing in the World Championships in abroad, kind of in my own bubble, not really thinking too much about it, trying to disconnect from the news because it was mentally really hard. And yeah, the World started. I knew I had to do a good event to select myself for the Olympics. Unfortunately, in windsurfing, only one person from each country goes to the Olympics. It was a very hard battle between 3 guys, me including. The competition started really well. My brother was still in Gaza at the time, and it was kind of hard, like this dissonance between me competing and going out to racing and him in Gaza. It was really hard to cope mentally and physically. And this, I don't know if it's an angel, I don't know how to explain this, but on the 3rd day of competition, suddenly we get this message that he's coming back home after being more than a month away in Gaza, not hearing from him, and suddenly he's coming back home, third day of the event. And that was really, I felt this massive weight come off my shoulders, and I felt like I could go out and compete. And on that day, I went from 8th to 3rd in the World Championships, and being able to properly perform without thinking about him all the time and without him being in life-threatening situation. So that was really amazing. And then kind of the competition went really smoothly. I finished 8th, won the Olympic ticket, and from there is kind of amazing. Winning the Olympic ticket was a dream come true. I wanted to represent Israel in Paris 2024. As an athlete, that's the pinnacle of our sport. And I really wanted to represent my country, especially at wartime. During the run up to the Olympics, it was kind of hard. We were thinking all the time of what happened in Munich 1972, thinking that we would be targeted. We knew that at this time, athletes, like people would want to harm athletes, as it's a good way to get back at Israel. Sorry, I forgot to pass on. So the Olympic build-up went very well. I was performing really well in the competitions leading up, and I knew that if I performed well, I could medal at the Olympics. There was always the threat of what happened in Munich 1972, but we knew that we were going to be protected by the Shabak and by local police who were with us at the Olympics. The Paris 2024 Olympics started. It was an amazing atmosphere. The pressure was immense, and it was a really amazing thing to be part of. I knew that I am there to compete and I am there to win, not just to be around. I knew that I was to run to represent Israel as best as I can and put the flag as high as possible. The games started, and as the games were starting, suddenly I start getting this flood of horrible messages on my Instagram, just flooding with death threats, really bad messages, and just seeing that. My girlfriend was doing my social media at the time, so she was asked me if she wants me to delete those messages, and I said to her, I like reading them because it makes me stronger. I know these people want to bring us down, and these people put so much hate out there to take us down, but we are so much stronger than that. We're the Jews, like, have had so much hardship, but every time we push through, we know that we are stronger. And these people are just trying to bring us down mentally. And I knew that the best way I can get back and head back to those haters is by winning the Olympics. And that's basically what I did. I was like fuel to the fire to bring myself to a better level, just because those messages hurt me so much. I knew if I win, I can hurt them back. And one of the amazing things at the Olympics was not just the hate and using it to power, is also the love from the Jewish community. There were so many supporters who came to watch us, not knowing anything about windsurfing, not really knowing who I am, but came to lift up the Israeli flag and really show what's amazing about the Jewish religion is that we are all united and we all push each other and we all try and be as good as we can. And that was really amazing, receiving so much love and so much messages to push me forward and try and do the best I can. And they were just so proud of me. After 1 week of racing, we went into the finals day. I qualified in second place, which meant I qualified straight to the semi-final. The pressure was immense. It meant one race I can finish 4th or 5th or qualify to the final, which means I won an Olympic medal. We were sitting at the beach all day, waiting for racing, and unfortunately the race didn't happen. I felt this massive weight of pressure on my shoulders, knowing that one race will change my life, not just for me, but for everyone around me and all the people in Israel, bring pride back to the country. And unfortunately, we didn't race that day. So all 24 hours of this immense preparation for this race, and I have to wait another day. But that was okay. I knew that I am ready. The next day came, the wind was perfect, forecast was amazing, and we just went into that race. I knew that I could do well, and I had the training behind me and the mental power to push through. I finished the semi-final in second place, which means I qualified to the final and won an Olympic medal. I remember so well after winning that medal, sailing straight to the crowd where my parents were at and just screaming as loud as I can. Even now, I feel so much emotions in my body from that moment. My parents were there and my family was there, and it was one of the proudest moments in my life, winning an Olympic medal. But I still had the final in front of me, and the final I could choose what the race went that I could choose what medal I wanted. If I do a good race, I win gold, and if I do a bad race, I get bronze. But once I got that Olympic medal, the pressure went off, and I knew I can perform as well as I can and just do my own race. It was one of the best feelings ever. I was in a mental state of flow. I could do whatever I wanted, and I knew I was capable of winning that gold. I had the perfect start, perfect race, and on the last reach to the finish, I realized that I'm first and I'm about to win an Olympic gold medal. It's a dream come true, and even now it's so emotional for me just talking about it. I never thought I could be an Olympic champion, and it's one of the most amazing things that ever happened to me. The best thing about this dream is, first of all, it started as a dream for me. But when I came back to Israel, I realized that this dream was everyone's dream, and how this achievement, this gold medal, lifted the whole nation up. They were, after 1 year of having one of the hardest years in our history as Jewish people all around the world and as Israelis in Israel, this gold medal brought a light of hope back home, and people kind of got this ray of light for the first time in the whole year, which made everything seem a bit better for a short period of time. And I really, after this medal, I just wanted to thank all the soldiers who sacrificed so much of their lives just so I could go to the Olympics. I could go and win a gold medal. To all the people who were in Israel and now who were doing so much for this war and letting me go and do my thing of winning an Olympic medal. So I really want to say thank you to everyone who's been part of Israel, part of this amazing country, and part of being Jewish around the world. And I think that's what's amazing about us, is that we go through so many hardships, we go through so many hard times, but we always find a way to push through, find a way to be more and be better and try and do the best we can. And just thank you very much for having me.
Tom, we first of all thank you very much. Just the warmth and the way you shared that with us. Tell us a little bit about elaborate a little bit more about some of the responses you've gotten, positive, negative. People on social media, people when you travel to different parts of the world for other competitions. Can you elaborate a little bit about it? Because to a certain degree, you really are a lightning rod. You're the one who represents Israel. You represent the Jewish people. I mean, you do it with an incredible smile on your face, with warmth and everything else. But just be curious to hear some of your stories.
So it really depends. Like, there are two sides. There's the ones that hate us and the ones that love us. And really, it's hard. Sometimes, a lot of times in competition, not at the Olympics, because at the Olympics we were guarded, but most of the time we were specified to not wear Israeli team kit, not talk in Hebrew, don't say where you're from, and really, like, all the time, sometimes we have to do that to keep us safe, which is incredibly sad. As an athlete representing Israel, I have to go to World Championships and not wear the Israeli shirt, not say I'm from Israel, have to keep on the down low profile. And I think this is something the Jewish people are feeling right now all around the world, that sometimes they have to hide their identity to be safe, which I think is an awful place to be for Jewish people. And that needs to change.
Mm. How would you say your fellow athletes treat you?
After I won?
No, in general, in different competitions, before and after, when you get together, that kind of a thing.
I think in sport, like, people try not to involve politics, and we look at each other as people and not as like the country I'm coming from. And I have plenty of friends from all around the world. Some people did ask more questions after October 7th. Some people were posting things on social media against Israel, I would say those are not really my friends, but some people in the sailing world were posting stuff, which was kind of hurtful, especially when they don't know too much about the situation. But in sports, we really try and keep politics out of the equation, and treat each person as human beings, which I think is how it should be. We should treat everyone as a person, and not say, ah, he's coming from Israel, I'm gonna hate him. So try and like keep everything as politically free as possible. And yeah, there is hate, but not too much from the athletes themselves.
Question for you. In terms of your family story, okay, you mentioned part of the family has an Irish background. By the way, those of us who are Americans, we're sitting here and we think that we're having the Jewish version of Daniel Day-Lewis, even though I think Daniel Day-Lewis happens to be Jewish. But it's great listening to you. We usually don't get an Irish, on these briefings, it's very seldom that we get an Irish accent. So for that alone, we want to thank you. But tell us a little bit about your family background. It sounds to be quite fascinating.
So I was born in Israel, and we moved. My mom's English, not Irish, so I have no Irish heritage. But we moved to Ireland as a relocation for my mom's work. I lived there for 4 years, and that's kind of where I got the accent. And then we went back to Israel. So mainly I was raised in Israel, brought up in Israel. My athletic life was completely in Israel, even though I started windsurfing in Ireland. I wasn't, it was as a hobby. And when I came back to Israel, when I took it to the next level and became competitive, and started competing around the world. And I would always want to represent Israel. That's my best dream.
In terms of your experiences after you came back to Israel, so which part of the Mediterranean did you practice in?
So we train in an area called Stotyam, which is near Caesarea. We have great conditions all year round, and it's one of the nicest places to train in Israel, I think. Sometimes we go in training camps to Eilat or the Sea of Galilee, which is also really fun. It depends on the wind forecast. Since the war, it has been a bit tricky to go and train in these places. Like Sea of Galilee has gotten missiles nonstop since 7th of October, and the Eilat sometimes is not so safe to train. And so kind of where we were is in the middle between Gaza and Lebanon, so not too many rockets arrive there, so it's okay to train mostly normally. But yeah, it's been quite a experience, or hard. Sometimes it's been hard to manage everything, especially with flights. Also, like flying abroad to train and training and doing training camps and competitions abroad, and suddenly you have to think of this aspect of, is my flight going to get cancelled? Is this going to happen? So it's been quite this last year has been quite different in terms of training.
Now, when you go abroad, I'm not talking about for competition, but let's say for training, you'll use equipment you'll rent there, or you're bringing all of your equipment with?
So except other than the Olympics, where we got our equipment supplied by the Olympic Committee, every competition we bring our own equipment from home, and it's the equipment I train on, that I know, that I like. It's basically all one design. Everyone has the same equipment, and we go and buy it from the same company. But we kind of change little things in the equipment that we are allowed to change, and then you kind of fit the equipment for yourself. So I always bring my equipment because it fits best to my needs, and I'm used to that the most.
You mentioned, I believe it was your neighbor, and as well, I believe that must have been when we lost all the Givatis on that day in Gaza, when there was a collapse of the building.
Yeah.
What was that like for your community? You know, as a community, losing someone that you all grew up with, you watched this young man from the time he was a child, you played with him, etc.
Yeah. So I've lost about 5 friends I grew up with, I would say. It's really hard, and I wasn't in Israel at the time. I was away in Lanzarote at the World Championships, and it was kind of what was really hard is being kind of isolated from Israel. When you're in Israel and you have your family to support you and you have the community to support you, of course it's hard. Someone loses his life. It's the worst thing you can ever imagine. But being in Lanzarote, I just remember seeing that news article, and I cried so much. Just like two houses away from me. So it's like felt so close to home. I just couldn't stop imagining, like in my head, what his parents would like, a photo of his parents, and it's just what they're going through is just the worst thing that you could ever imagine. And I think some people, like, people don't understand other people from outside don't understand what's going on in Israel, and how much we've lost since the beginning, and how much people have been hurting. And every person has a whole lot. Every person that has tragically died has a whole life around him of people that are grieving so much. And just I love life, and I'm so pro life, and every soldier that dies, or every person who was murdered, is heartbreaking.
At this point, are your brothers, have they returned from Miluim? Or they are deployed?
Yeah, my brother, my younger brother, he's in Maglan. He was on October 7th. He was doing his national duty. Since then he has gone and released, and now he's doing Miluim. And yes, right now he is still deployed.
Wow.
I don't want to specify where.
Yeah, that's right. Just for those who are participating in this briefing, Maglan is one of the elite combat units. They go places that I guess are not something that they get officially acknowledged, and they do incredible things to protect Israel. We just wish your brother incredible success. We wish your brother only the best.
Thank you.
Would you like to share any other thoughts with us, or any closing thoughts? Because it's very exciting. It's not every day on this briefing, and we've been doing the briefing since the war started. Sometimes we were doing them 4 or 5 days a week. At this point, we're doing them once a week. It's our first Olympic gold medalist that we've had a chance. An IDF soldier who's an Olympic gold medalist, while he is competing, his brothers are defending the country. Share with us some closing thoughts. Even though you've been very open with us until now.
To be honest, what our soldiers have done for our country since October 7th, and way before that, but since October 7th, it's so many people throughout Israel have been gone to Miluim and been fighting. What they've done is much bigger than what I've done, in my opinion. I know I've bring a lot of hope and a lot of light and a lot of good things back, but without them, we wouldn't be here right now. And I think that's the most important message I want to bring. And with my brother, when I talk to him about it, he seems like he's doing something normal, but it's not normal going and fighting and saving our country. And that's the most. And to me, winning an Olympic gold medal seems normal, but I know it's also not normal. But without these soldiers, I wouldn't have been here. I wouldn't have been able to go to the Olympics, and I wouldn't have been able to represent my country. And I think that's the most important thing that we have in Israel right now, is so many people putting their life on the line to help us be who we are and help us live a normal life for the normal civilians. And for me to be able to keep representing Israel, keep competing, and hopefully also represent Israel in LA 2028 and hopefully win a medal there. I wouldn't have been able to do that with all these people in our amazing country that are helping us and are putting their life at risk just so we could go training and just so we could do normal things. And I just want to say thank you, and thank you to you guys for supporting this cause and supporting what they are doing, because you're doing an amazing job too.
We have an incredible chapter in Los Angeles, a very large chapter of Friends of the IDF. They're going to be very excited to host you. Now, they're going to treat you so well, maybe in terms of feeding you and taking you wonderful places. Maybe we'll have to wait till after you win your second gold medal, but because we want to make sure you're in shape for the Olympics. But they will take good care of you, and they're really excited to host you, please God, in 2028. And I'm sure many other Jews across the world are going to be excited to host you at the various competitions you participate in on multiple continents. And we want to wish you continued success. Your family, your brothers, we want to wish you only the best and safety for them. We want to thank you. Thank you for being just such a warm face, a pleasant human being, just a person who embodies everything that's sweet and beautiful about the Jewish people and about Israel. And it's an honor to have you as our guest.
Thank you so much for having me. And I hope to keep representing Israel and the Jewish community as best as I can.
See, in America, this weekend is, it's, on Sunday, what happens? Most Americans are watching football on Sunday. They're in front of their TVs. It's a very different sport than windsurfing. But for them to be exposed before the football game to a different kind of athlete, to a Jewish athlete, an Israeli athlete who's a gold medal winner, it'll put a different perspective, a different context to their Sunday. And we thank you for that.
Thank you.